Thursday, fam. What's up? Thank you for being with us on this Tuesday. My guys, Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. How we doing?
What's up?
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm ready to go.
I feel like.
Thank you. Thank you. Trying to do a little something, trying to keep up with you two.
Well, just remember, you don't have to try too hard.
Thank you.
That's right.
You guys ready to do this?
We definitely we do. We need all the help we can get. By the way, you saw that picture they showed of me on Mike and Mike, really getting on my nerves. I've worked a lot. I worked very, very hard with the green smoothie drinks. Remember that girl, J.J. Smith, the best-selling author?
Yes.
Yeah, I followed her lead, got the green smoothie drink and what have you. You know, I lost these 10 pounds. My belly has dissipated significantly. And then Mike and Mike going to show a picture with me with a belly on. I appreciate that. I don't appreciate it. I'm just saying.
We need to make that happen. All right, gentlemen, let's get into it. We begin with Drew Brees. With 1 year left on his contract, Drew Brees and the Saints are marching back to the negotiating table. But according to our Ed Werder, there's been minimal progress made as the clock ticks down towards Brees' self-imposed Sunday deadline, given that he has been adamant that he does not want to negotiate during the regular season. This sticking point, according to Werder, is like other top quarterbacks. Brees, at age 37, wants more than $60 million guaranteed in a $100 million contract. So at age 37, a $100 million contract with $60 million guaranteed. Stephen A., does he deserve that?
Hell yes. Absolutely, positively. There is nothing to discuss here. You better not argue with me about this. This is not something to debate with me about, Max Kellerman. This is Drew Brees. The disrespect that I see Drew Brees receiving with people that are questioning whether or not he deserves this is absolutely asinine. He is Drew Brees. For the last 10 years, I'm going to say this, 10 years, Drew Brees has thrown for in excess of 4,000 yards. 4 of those times is for in excess of 5,000 yards. He's got a Super Bowl championship on his resume, and it damn sure ain't his fault that the New Orleans Saints can't get back into the playoffs in recent memory. Their defense stink. It's an abomination. There is no excuse why this New Orleans Saints team can't be a perennial Super Bowl contender with Drew Brees doing the things that he has done on the offensive side of the ball. Last year, Max Kellerman, was a down year, a relatively down year. I think we would say that. Molly, you know your football. You know what I'm saying. It's a relatively down year for Drew Brees, not for everybody else. Let's look at the numbers here, Max Kellerman. 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, okay? A quarterback rating of 101, a QBR of 75, and oh, by the way, 4,870 yards, completing 68% of his passes. This is Drew Brees. This is the Drew Brees that we're talking about here. So what's the issue? If you are the New Orleans Saints, not only does he deserve the money, it's an insult that you even argue with him about giving it to him, because what the hell else do you have? Who are you going to put in that position? Who is the leader of your team? It certainly ain't Sean Payton. It ain't somebody on the defensive side of the ball. We're hoping that you'll have a defense. We're hoping that you'll stick with a defensive coordinator. We look at Sean Payton, not going to knock him too much because he's a Super Bowl championship coach, and offense is his pedigree, not necessarily defense. But when I look at New Orleans, it's Drew Brees and everybody else. Without Drew Brees, there is nobody else that's worth talking about. So as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing to think about here. Drew Brees deserves his money. If Tony Romo is getting $55 million guaranteed, $108 million contract, if Jay Cutler is in the midst of a $126 million deal with over $50 million guaranteed, okay? Excuse me, Cam Newton, dare I say Cam Newton, because he is the reigning league MVP, tier 2 nevertheless, but he is Cam Newton, the reigning league MVP. Bottom, hold on, wait a minute. Is Cam Newton a better pocket passer than Drew Brees? Y'all know better. So all I'm saying is, if Cam Newton is guaranteed $60 million and he does not have a Super Bowl championship, why on earth does Drew Brees have to argue about this? I want to hear that you know what? The ageism, it's racism and sexism, ageism against you, because anybody that's over the age of 38, Max got a problem with that. Right. He's sitting up there looking at them, the dust collected on their birth certificate. He's counting them out. Not Drew Brees.
9,
he deserves
10,
his money.
You're out.
He deserves his money. Give Drew Brees his money.
And
that's all I'm saying.
Got his money. He's been paid for all those seasons. For all those seasons you just talked about. Okay. He got paid for those already.
So what's your answer?
This contract is for what he's going to do. Okay. And there is no way you should give him $100 million.
$60 million guarantee? He don't deserve that?
Look, this is very simple. He will be 38 when the playoffs roll around. Whether or not they're in the playoffs, but he's going to be 38 when these playoffs roll around. So before this NFL season is completely done, 38 years old. Do you know how many quarterbacks in the history of humanity, in the history of the known universe, do you know how many quarterbacks have ever maintained an elite level at the age of 41? Because that answer would be 0. They all fall off a cliff.
Keep talking. You're getting yourself in trouble. Keep talking.
Even
Keep talking.
if they're throwing 55 touchdowns in a season, as Peyton Manning did, and it looked like he was on pace to do it, and then they fall off. Well, that was because of injury. Yeah, you know what happens to old guys? They get hurt. Not only because they're just out on the field and exposed to more, but because their bodies don't react to things the same way. No one has ever done it ever at the age of 41.
You know what?
That's why I said Tom Brady is going to fall off a cliff. The same thing will happen to Drew Brees. But according to you, not only is Tom Brady going to still be elite for the first time in human history at the age of 41, so is Drew Brees. He's going to be the next. It's like the 4-minute mile. One guy's going to break it, they're all going to break it.
Let me tell you something right now. I'm on record. Tell me, let me be very, very clear. Tom Brady's going to be elite. Tom Brady's 38.
At the age of 41?
39. 2 years from now, Tom Brady's going to be elite. Book it.
First one
no
ever.
father time.
First one
Father
ever.
time, not undefeated.
Devoid of injury. Let me explain.
Caveat.
No, let me explain. This is football. If you sit up there and get your chest caved in, or get your ankle broke, or your
football.
or your kneecap separated, you're talking age and attrition. I'm simply saying, if those dudes, if no major injury takes place, Tom Brady's going to be elite in 2 years. Drew Brees is going to be elite in 3 years. I believe it. And by the way, let's hold on. Tell me.
Injury got something to do with it, too.
Let's take this a little bit further.
You can't pay 'em.
We know that the Saints have missed the playoffs the last couple of years, okay? If we look at them from last year, all right, what do we have here? The worst defense in football, second worst in yards allowed, second worst in yards allowed passing, the second worst in rush yards allowed. But in the midst of all of that, with a defense that gives you nothing, teams running all over them, passing all over them, accumulating yards against them, moving the chains against them, scoring points against them. When Drew Brees had the ball, the Saints are the number 8 overall offense, number 2 in yards, the number 1 passing attack in football.
Well,
hold on, tell me. So, what's their argument? They got the 24th ranked rushing attack. This is the Saints. So your defense stinks, your running game stinks. Drew Brees is everything. He's everything. And where did my boy Max Kellerman, the capitalist, go? That the dude that said what the market allows. What did that do? Remember that dude? Don't you sit next to that dude? Well, haven't you been sitting next to some dude for more than a month, Molly, that talks about capitalism, that talks about the market? Where did that dude go?
I talk about labor, too.
By the way, where's the dude that is the boxing analyst extraordinaire? I mean, I think Jim Lampley is the greatest voice in boxing since Howard Cosell. But, I mean, damn, as much as I love Larry Merchant, if you was going to replace Larry Merchant with anybody, there's only one man, and that's Max Kellerman. I'm sorry, did George Foreman win a championship at the age of 45? Didn't we see old Thomas step into the ring and knock out young bucks? This is what happens in the sport of boxing. So what I'm saying is, in a pugilistic, violent sport, we've seen old hands be the exception from time to time. But in the sport of football, all of a sudden, Max Kellerman wants to forget all of that and engage and exercise selective amnesia and act like that is not a reality that is possible.
Oh, listen,
you should be ashamed of yourself.
In boxing history,
you should be ashamed.
Archie Moore fought on a championship level till his mid-40s. So the fact that Foreman was able to do it, it's not unprecedented, and sometimes even unprecedented things happen. But in football, where, again, no one has ever done it at the age of 41, you not only think Tom Brady's going to do it, you think Drew Brees is going to do it. Oh, barring injury. But that's kind of what happens and is one of the reasons why.
But wait a minute. Injuries happen to a 20-year-old. Injuries happen to a 20-year-old. Injuries happen to a 25-year-old.
But there have been plenty 25-year-olds who've been elite.
It's not wrong for me to sit up there and say, you're saying for the time. I'm saying, wait a minute, an injury could take anybody out no matter the age.
NFL is because it's a hard cap league. The job of a GM, probably more than anything else, this includes the draft, it includes free agents, it includes keeping your guys on your own roster, is properly evaluating and pricing talent. And if you give Drew Brees, say, 4 years guaranteed at the age of 37 and a half plus, you are going to have dead money on your books for the last year and a half of the contract. It doesn't make sense. This is what the negotiation is about. We know you want this number. That's prorated based on too many years.
I'm not thinking about the years. I'm thinking about the cash. See, that's how you need to just turn in your capitalistic card. I'm thinking cash money.
And by the way,
thinking 60 million. Don't tell me that Tony Romo, Mr. Bad Back himself, okay, or Jay Cutler, Mr. Irrelevant, leaderless self that he is. Don't tell me these dudes, deserve in excess of 50 million in guaranteed, but Drew Brees doesn't deserve 60. You got to be smoking something.
I am pro-labor, and I hate to be talking
You're pro-labor, pro-capitalism. You're for, you're against. Come on.
I hate to be talking about not paying another man, Drew Brees. I hope you go get your money. But if I were the Saints, I wouldn't give it to him. Not the length and the numbers he wants.
Baby, you could come to me with the link. We could debate that.
But that's the guaranteed money.
The 60 million he's talking about, I would give Drew Brees that if I had to give it to. The only reason I wouldn't give it to him over 2 years is because of the cap. If I could, I'd give it to him in one. I'd give it to him in one. He deserves. No. I know what. I promise you that Drew Brees gonna show up this year and ball like he always. I believe in that man. I believe in that man. Drew Brees is no joke.
Is he asking for a one-year deal? Is his guarantee based on 1 year?
No. But what if it was guaranteed? What if it was based off of 2 or 3 years? If you could give him 60 million in that time span, I'd do it. He deserves the 60 million. He is tier 1.
Yes.
Legitimate, undeniable.
Yes.
Tier 1.
Yes.
There is no question. Oh, please. Look,
the reigning MVP is also.
I got number love for Cam, but come on. Come on. I need more than 1 year. Drew Brees, I just gave you 10 years.
Yes.
10 years.
Yeah, and he made all the money in the past.
Oh, please.
Now we're talking about what he's going to get paid going forward.
Say he made all that money in the past. I thought he was underpaid sometimes in the past. Personally, Drew Brees is a bad man. He's a bad man.
No denying that.
All right, let's move on. We are 2 days away from the start of the NFL season, and it kicks off with a Super Bowl rematch between the Broncos and Panthers. But Cam Newton says he isn't looking at this game as a rematch. Take a listen.
Really can't wait. We get 60 minutes, and we don't get to see you guys. So, we're just going to play football. That's what it's all about. A lot of people want to make it a rematch. It's not a rematch. It's just our next opponent. And, they're a great team. We understand that. And we're putting our bid in and being a great team as well. So all that's null and void if we don't prove it on Thursday night. And we're going to have a lot of guys on the Carolina Panthers that'll be ready to go, as well as we know that those guys will be ready too.
Cam says Thursday night is not a rematch. What approach should he have entering this season in particular, Stephen?
It damn sure shouldn't be this approach that he just had. I can tell you that much. Listen, let me be very, very clear. Cam Newton is a superstar. I think tier 1 debate is all about longevity. You got to give me more than 1 year in order to do that, okay?
Coming right up.
All right, that's right. Bottom line, you got to do that. He and I spoke about that, but the point that I'm trying to make to you is this. I don't want to see that attitude. Is it a Super Bowl rematch? Well, of course it is, because they played in the Super Bowl. That's not the attitude that you're supposed to have. But to me, the attitude is, this ain't just another game. This ain't just another season. You lost the Super Bowl. You got pretty smacked around in that Super Bowl. I need you to come out hell-bent on making noise and making amends for what happened. The Carolina Panthers defense did not lose that Super Bowl. The Carolina Panthers offense, a bunch of brothers that spent last year dabbing and celebrating and giving footballs to the little kiddies in the stands, those were the dudes that didn't show up for the Super Bowl. Those were the dudes that let Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware and the crew run roughshod over them. Those are the dudes that cost the Carolina Panthers a Super Bowl title. So guess what? The defense can sit up there and talk to me about, we just going to approach this like we always approached it. I'll give that to them because they did their job. That cannot be said for anyone on the Carolina Panthers offense. Nobody that afternoon, they lost the Super Bowl 24-10. Okay? They put up 10 points. They were averaging better than 28 last year. These dudes came up grotesquely short. And you've got to make amends for that. So it's not about, oh, my goodness, it's a Super Bowl rematch. It's not about Denver per se. But it is about having the attitude that says, yo, we are here. We are coming. Opportunity lost. Opportunity denied. We've been, messed up over it all off season long. We couldn't wait for this season to arrive. That's what I think everybody needs to hear and see from Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers, because as far as I'm concerned, they shouldn't have lost the damn Super Bowl. If your offense shows up and gives you anything, particularly the state of affairs that was going on with Peyton Manning, the Carolina Panthers are sitting here today as the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, but they're not. And it's not just because they lost, it's because they got smacked around and beat up on the offensive side of the ball. They got stuff to make up for. That, to me, should be the attitude they have.
So Cam Newton's attitude should be to impress you and other observers. It shouldn't be about what he and the team have to accomplish, because that's really what he has to do, is get himself and the team ready, not prep the fans and the media to make sure that we watch it a certain way.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this to you. They don't have to impress me at all. I don't give a damn whether they impress me or not. I ain't going to lose no sleep over them. But your fans that you're asking to come and pay and see you play, to support you, you kind of need to cater to them a little bit. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
You keep blasting the Carolina offense. Let's not forget, they lost 2 games all of last year, including the regular season. And who did they lose to in the Super Bowl? An all-time great defense. And you mentioned the guys that get after the quarterback, but that's not even what made them an all-time great defense. It's the secondary. It's the fact that they dared Cam Newton to beat them from the pocket, passing the ball.
He didn't have any time to pass the ball.
That's he didn't have any receivers either. Their best running back is the quarterback. Their best receiver is the tight end last year. This year, he has his top receiver back. He's approaching this like just any other game, which was good enough to go 15-1 in the regular season. If you want to criticize Cam Newton legitimately for anything, there's one moment that you can legitimately heap criticism on him for, which he has not addressed, but from all indications, the way he talks about it, he hasn't denied that that was a bad moment either, when he didn't jump on the ball after Von Miller stripped him, when they still had a chance to win the game in the Super Bowl. In a normal situation, I would say don't risk injury to dive on that ball. But in the Super Bowl with the game on the line, Cam, dive on the ball. But that's not what this is coming up this weekend. It's not the Super Bowl. In that same situation against the Broncos in Week 1, if he says that's an awkward position, I might hurt myself there, maybe you don't dive on it. When he says it's not a rematch, the team's personnel has changed. Certainly on the Broncos, there's been change. It's Week 1. It's not the Super Bowl. He has his top receiver back. The situation's different. His approach, that kind of steady Eddie approach, like we're going to worry about what we do, take this one game at a time. This is the most important game because it's the game we have this weekend. That's the way you're supposed to approach it.
So much to teach you. Let me tell you something, man. Attitude, as you well know, you should know this, matters. Approach matters. Motivation matters. What I'm saying to you is that this notion that was the loss, it's behind us, it's a new season, and that's all. That's not enough. Let me think about the NFC South for a second here. You got Drew Brees and them. You got the Atlanta Falcons and them, okay? You got Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We spent some time down there. They're very confident about what they're going to do this year. We got the NFC West with Seattle and Arizona, okay? And the Los Angeles Rams to some degree. We've got the NFC North with Jordy Nelson returning back for Aaron Rodgers. We got the NFC East. Somebody got to come out of there. So when you look at it from that perspective, and you're the Carolina Panthers, and you're the reigning NFC champions, and you had the kind of season that they had, they didn't just win. They won loudly. They made noise. They were dabbing. They were celebrating. They were in your face with it. They were on the opposite ends of the sideline, humiliating opponents, all of this other stuff. Cats are going to come at them. What I'm saying to you is that Cam Newton is not doing anything wrong, but you're asking me what I would want to see in terms of that attitude, the kind of attitude that I'd want an NFC champion to have, knowing that everybody's coming your way. You got Calvin Benjamin back. That's a big plus. You still got Jonathan Stewart there. In the Super Bowl, your leading receiver was some dude named Corey Brown. Never even heard of him until the damn Super Bowl, for crying out loud. No disrespect, Corey, but it's just the truth. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that when you look at it from all of those perspectives, you got to understand cats are coming for you now. And they coming for you in that way. And it would be nice to see a team that wore a lot of its bravado on its sleeve to come out with a similar kind of attitude, as opposed to giving the impression that, maybe we just need to be quiet and trying to sneak up on people. Last year was last year, but this year was this year. We don't want to do that.
I love that mid-20s quarterback, maligned sometimes for his attitude for some reason. I don't know, he signs footballs.
Not by me.
Wins 50
Not by me.
Shows more wisdom than a venerable sports writer turned TV star. I love that. First of all, Cam Newton knows this. You can't win the Super Bowl week 1. You also can't go 15-1 week 1. And furthermore, it's highly unlikely that they go 15-1. But the teams that do that, the teams that have outstanding records, are the teams that know you can't do it all in 1 week. You can't come out here trying to cram the whole Super Bowl and now the regular season the following year into 1 game. You have an opponent to play. You got to analyze their strengths and weaknesses. You got to get ready for them, and you got to be the best version of yourself. And if the Carolina Panthers win 12 or 13 games, win their division, and make another run in the playoffs, that is a hugely successful season. And if Cam has learned that if that ball is stripped loose and the game is on the line in the playoffs, that he needs to jump on it, that's the only thing I would correct. Otherwise, Cam is poised to take over as the best player in the game from Aaron Rodgers.
Sound like somebody that wants to be a champion instead of somebody who knows how to be one.
Tell me about all your Super Bowl wins.
That's what I'm saying. I got a couple.
Maybe he's looking at this team and he's like, who's this
couple.
Trevor Siemian cat? This isn't a rematch. This is Peyton Manning.
How about
I don't know this
That
squad.
is possible.
Right.
That is a legitimate point. No
but
doubt
gentlemen,
about that.
how about those Seminoles last night? Don't call it a comeback. Ridiculous. Florida State wins a thriller over Ole Miss last night. Did they look good enough to take on Bama in the playoffs? That's the question. We debate it next. First Take, just getting started.
I don't know this Max coming. I don't know you right now.
I get it. He's famous. Literally. What have you done with Stephen A. Smith?
Your boys can't come over your house.
I'd like to lick the tears off their faces like
God.
Scott Pennerman.
Damn.
People blowing me up on Twitter.
It's the truth. Period.
Me.
And last point is this.
That's a blunt.
Stay off the weed.
This is where Jimbo Fisher is one of the better offensive minds in the country. He's going to try to put his quarterback in favorable situations.
Francois pressured, hit, delivers a strike, and a touchdown. Quarterback was waiting for something, didn't happen, but just takes off. Francois in the open field, and a throw to a wide open end zone to cap the drive. Looking down the sideline, Salage intercepted by McFadden. And that could do it. Tonight they'll never forget in the Seminole Nation.
Number 4, Florida State with a 22-point comeback, the largest in FSU history. The freshman, DeAndre Francois, maybe a rookie, but he's looking like a vet. 33 of 52 for 419 pass yards, 2 TDs in his first career start, second most passing yards by a freshman in FSU history, and pretty storied program there. Somebody at this desk is taking Bama over the field, but I won't name names. Could Florida State potentially be a threat?
Oh, they are a threat. Let me tell you who Florida State is. I'll give you some details in a second, but I'm going to give you the big picture. Stephen A., I know you're a fight fan. Remember how Evander Holyfield used to take a shot? Evander Holyfield, great heavyweight champ. If I were a trainer in the other guy's corner, I would have told him, whatever you do, don't hurt Holyfield. Because other guy be boxing well, whatever, hit Holyfield a shot, would stagger him. All of a sudden, he'd grit. You'd see his mouthpiece. Here comes hellfire. You had to walk through hell if you hurt Holyfield. He had that kind of heart. That is the Florida State Seminoles. They have that kind of heart. They're the kind of team where early in the game, look, DeAndre Francois, the quarterback, looked like a deer in headlights in the first half. And it kept getting worse and worse. And it was Chad Kelly, Ole Miss quarterback Chad Kelly, who looked like a professional NFL quarterback, who looked like the guy, wow, look at this guy. Look at the way the ball even comes out of his hand, until the second half rolls around. Let me not even get ahead of myself. Before the second half even rolls around, Jimbo Fisher has a coming to God moment with these kids, is talking about, we're going to find out what you're made of right now. And the team responded. I don't know that it was so much adjustments that he made, but he got them buying in, believing, playing together, shaking off whatever it was that hit him in the first half where it looked like a blowout, a mismatch, and they go on a 30-0 run and win the game. Look, Florida State is the kind of, look, if they can match up athletically with anyone, then the question becomes, what do they have? How much heart do they have in the moment of truth? They got the heart. They showed it last night. The only reason this game isn't an even bigger deal is because of what Texas did to Notre Dame a couple days ago. That's such an amazing game. I think this one got a little overshadowed. But what Florida State just showed you is they are a threat to anyone, yes, even Alabama and Nick Saban.
Let Let me tell you something right now. I respect Florida State. Jimbo Fisher is a fantastic coach. I mean, in his career there, he's been down at half 7 times and has won all 7 games. This man knows how to coach the game of football. And having said all of that, and having nothing but profound respect for the Seminoles at Florida State, and absolutely believing in Jimbo Fisher as a coach and Dalvin Cook as an absolute stud, I'm telling you right now, they got no shot against Alabama. 0. That's right, I said it. They can't mess with Alabama. Here's the deal. If you want to sit up there and make an argument on behalf of Florida State, here's your argument. Other than Fisher and Cook, you've got the fact that you really got a weak schedule. I mean, you get through Clemson, that's really your only tough game, whereas Alabama's got Mississippi and LSU and Arkansas and Tennessee and Auburn, at the end of the season. You've got that hellacious schedule.
So I'm glad you come around to my way of thinking.
No. I'm not saying at all that Alabama is going to lose. I'm still taking them not the field like some folks I know. Here's the reality, though. In the end, you got to understand something. Football's a meat and potatoes game. Yeah. Where's the beef? And we all know where the beef is in college football. It's in Tuscaloosa. It's in Alabama. Florida State's offensive line can't mess with these brothers. They can't do anything about it. Dalvin Cook ain't going to run for 138 yards like he did last night. It's not going to happen.
He didn't really run for 138 last night.
I understand
he caught 138 last night.
That's true. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Damian Harris because he ran for 138 yards. You're absolutely right about that. Dalvin Cook caught.
Yeah, he caught 100
He
was basically a receiver last night.
I appreciate the correction because I was thinking about Damian Harris instead of Dalvin Cook, but it doesn't matter. I'm telling you right now, if you're the Florida State Seminoles, you got Jesus Wilson and some dude Rudolph, and Cook was catching receptions. That ain't going to work against Alabama. This kid that's quarterbacking Francois. Okay, good luck with that. It was very, very impressive. He's a bad boy, over 400 yards passing. It was Ole Miss, but the bottom line, I give respect where respect is due. They can play. The problem is, when you talk about going up against Alabama, you got Everett, you got Fitzpatrick, you've got Marlon Humphreys in the crew. I mean, these are some rough riders. And did you see Alabama's defense? Alabama's defense looks almost as good as it looked in 2011 when they won the national championship. These brothers are no joke. Florida State is good. I get all that. I understand it. A lot of teams are good. But I'm thinking if you want to beat Alabama, you've got to be the superstar caliber dude, the likes of Deshaun Watson, to even have a chance. And I can't see it. Like, for example, I feel so sorry for LSU because, they lost the game over the weekend, right? Everybody talking about what the hell is going on with Les Miles. You just keep giving the ball to Leonard Fournette. No innovation whatsoever. They're getting on him. Les Miles could be in a little bit of trouble. But you know what the real problem is? His quarterback, Brandon Harris. I mean, that dude can't get it done. The fact that he's behind center sure assures you that Alabama has absolutely nothing to worry about. You got to be an athletic freak and a stud to even have a chance. And even then, your offensive line has got to show up against those meat and potato boys from Alabama. And by the way, I didn't even get to Alabama's offensive line and how they're going to be able to run the football because of those meat and potato dudes. You might have the skill set, but they're too small. They're too soft. They're too weak. I'm talking about all of them. I'm talking about everybody. Everybody.
They showed me soft yesterday. Not soft. They looked overmatched in the first half, and then they went on a 30-0 run.
That was against Ole Miss. I'm sorry. Was Nick Saban on the other sideline? I mean, was that Alabama's defense that did that?
This is what happens too. It happens in all sports. When blowouts and great offensive teams, obviously Alabama can also play defense, but you're overestimating them at this moment because Alabama, who always looks really good, Saban does a great job getting them ready for week 1 against an overrated USC squad. They absolutely looked invincible. It's very early in the season, and I would liken them last year, though their schedule is much tougher. As I mentioned the other day, as you mentioned today, Alabama, much tougher schedule than LSU or Clemson. But they're kind of the Cavs last year, in the sense that they're going to be there in the end. The question is, when the dust settles, who is going to be in the other corner? Is it going to be Clemson or Florida State? We're going to find out October 29th. They play each other. The winner of that game is going to be, in my estimation, at the very least, the greatest threat to Alabama, or maybe the favorites to win the whole thing.
I would say this. When Florida State won last night, I got a text from my man Chris Carter, the Hall of Fame wide receiver extraordinaire, raving about this kid, Derwin James. talking about this dude, Ed Reed, Ronnie Lott type dude, top 5 picking Stephen A. This dude is special. I get all that. I understand. I understand that Alabama's quarterback, regardless of Jalen Hurts, we'll see what he does. Blake Barnett, we'll see what I mean, he looks all right, but he didn't look like Francois. I mean, he didn't look like him. But bottom line is he's got some skills. But the point that I'm trying to make to y'all is when you got meat and potato dudes in front of you on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, people get soft. It's not that they are soft, they get softened up. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the problem I got with the Florida States of the world and all of these other teams.
They did the opposite.
Listen.
They were getting beaten on the line of scrimmage. They were getting whooped on the line of scrimmage. They did the opposite of folding. They didn't get soft.
You're talking, but you're not hearing me. I'm saying to you, I don't give a damn what they did last night. It wasn't against Alabama. Now, the SEC overall. The SEC is a little bit shaky this year. You got Ole Miss, you got Mississippi, you got LSU. I mean, they don't look that Tennessee struggling against Appalachian State. I mean, come on now. I mean, the SEC is looking a bit shaky right now, but not Alabama. Alabama is in another stratosphere. Everybody needs to accept that. And Nick Saban is absolutely right. See, this is one thing. They went 52-6. What does Nick Saban do? He comes out, he's complaining about them. Why? Because I'm not going to let you rest on your laurels. I know. You know what that said to me? You know what that said to me? He's scared because he knows how dominant they are, and he knows how dominant they know they are. So the only people that can beat Alabama is Alabama. If you don't beat yourself, you will coast to the national title. Coast to the national title.
Nick Saban, who can win a championship without a top quarterback, and that's what Jalen Hurts looked like week 1, look out. But that just makes them the odds.
You got Francois.
That just makes them.
Francois. You've got Watson. Why you bringing up Jalen Hurts for? What you bringing him up for?
Want to talk about meat and potatoes? Or you want me to say
meat and potatoes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me mix in some vegetables into your diet, Stephen A. A little salad. Mix it in.
Something, right?
They're the odds-on favorite. We agree with that. But odds-on still makes you the underdog against the field, even if you think their odds improve. They were 6-1 to start the season. They just beat SC, a top 12 recruiting class, although they've underachieved in recent years, 53-6. And then they have a quarterback, and coach comes out and says that they haven't even performed well. Oh my God, they're amazing. You want to improve the odds to 4-1? That still means they're a 4-1 underdog against the field, Stephen A. They're still the underdog. It's a long shot, in fact.
Listen. It was them against the field last year. It was a little hiccup against Mississippi. I understand it was early in the season. What happened then? Roll Tide. And now, here they are. We're not going to allow you to sleep on yourselves now because you might jeopardize the national championship. What are we going to say? Roll Tide.
You're underestimating. In a full contact sport, you are underestimating heart. Football, it's not basketball, it's not baseball.
Snoring on it. I'm not sleeping, I'm snoring on them.
Football is different. The kind of heart I saw from FSU last night is the kind of heart, if you have athletes, which they do, that can match up with anyone.
Listen, maybe, you know what, I must confess. I do have a confession to make. There is a little something that I hold against FSU, and I feel obligated to admit that. A couple of years ago, I decided I'm going to go out to L.A. You know, I was in Vegas. I'm going to stroll on over to L.A. for New Year's Eve, enjoy myself, have a good time. It was a Rose Bowl. It was in Pasadena, okay? And they had the national championship playoff game, you know, semifinals. It was Oregon and Marcus Mariota versus FSU and Jameis Winston. I will admit that it might be a little something in me that's holding something against them because that was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. They got annihilated. They got trolloped. They got embarrassed. And I know Jim Fisher to be a great coach, but damn, they got their butts whipped. And I'm just saying to myself, I'm sat up there looking, I'm like, damn, this Ohio State-Alabama game in New Orleans, that should have been a national championship game. It would have been better. Maybe a little bit of something there, but in the end, it just restores my belief that when you go with Alabama, particularly against somebody like FSU, eventually they will be worn down. And that is what I believe that's going to happen.
Nothing of Clemson, and we'll see with Clemson, but if they beat FSU in October, Clemson, who just played them, who played them tight in a close shootout, who had an inexperienced quarterback.
Deshaun Watson.
Who had
Francois and Deshaun
Watson.
That's right.
Who had an inexperienced quarterback who now has an extremely experienced quarterback because he actually has experience in a national title game, who Nick Saban's identified as the best player in college football. You assume they've made progress. We're just talking about FSU versus Alabama, let alone Clemson. Even if you like Clemson to beat FSU, then maybe you like
I gotta respect Clemson and my man Dabo, but I still think they would lose. But don't talk to me about no Florida State yet.
Talking you,
I don't care. I don't care what they did against Ole Miss. Ole Miss.
You like Ole Miss isn't good?
No, they are.
Speaking of which, we will have a good test September 17th because it's Bama Ole Miss to see how those two line up potentially playing.
Oh, that's a win. That's a win for Alabama.
Goodbye.
Win.
Yeah, obviously it's a little bit of an adjustment, trying to not only learn a new system, but adjust to, the personnel and try to figure out, how to throw to different guys. I think it just takes time. It takes reps. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of either of those. So, I've had to learn new offenses in the past. I don't know if I've ever had to learn one, quite this fast or in this much of a hurry. Yesterday kind of got thrown into the fire, everything at once, and I think that's how we're going to have to do it.
He throws the ball great. He's been a starting quarterback, #1 pick in the draft. I said after Teddy got hurt that we were going to try and figure out a way how to continue to win and play good, and we're going to do everything we possibly can.
Crunch time up there in Minnesota. Coach Mike Zimmer said on Monday he's not ready to say whether Bradford, who practiced with the team for the first time earlier in the day, or Sean Hill will start week 1. Stephen A., should Bradford start week 1?
Absolutely. He should start week 1. He should start immediately. There shouldn't be nothing to talk about here. You're talking about a guy in Sean Hill who's been a career journeyman, who's never passed for, what is it? I'm looking at the numbers here. He's never passed for more than 416 yards in his career, in a season, okay? In a season. More than 416 yards. Are you kidding me? I mean, this stuff is laughable here. Not to knock him at all because he's a journeyman. Last year, he completed 2 passes out of 7 attempts. What was it? I think it was like 28 yards. I'm sorry. I don't know how many yards it is here. It's 15 yards. I'm sorry, 15 yards. I mean, are you kidding me? There's nothing to talk about here. Sam Bradford's been in the league for years. We all know that he's no tier 1 quarterback or anything like that.
Tier 1?
I said we all know. I said, but the point is, we know he.
We know the sky is blue too. We're not gonna say it.
Listen, we do know that he's thrown for 3,700 yards. We do know that a lot of teams in this league considered him a starter. We do know that they have no option whatsoever. Teddy Bridgewater's injury was so bad, so gruesome, according to the Minnesota Vikings, because I was listening to one of their executives talk on radio yesterday. They said it was so gruesome. They questioned whether or not he'll be back for next year. That's how bad it was. So that second year that Sam Bradford had there, it's pivotal. You throw him into the line of fire. You know that, cerebrally speaking, he has the intellect to be your quarterback immediately. So then it comes down to a question of his ability. Well, what is that ability compared to the ability that you have? I don't know how much of ability that really is. Then let's also take into account the fact that you got a guy like Pat Shermer, who Bradford worked with in both St. Louis and Philadelphia. So you have a familiarity there. You have the skill set necessary. You have experience compared to whatever else you have on your roster. You have the intellect at the quarterback position. Plus, you have a guy hungry in the midst of a 2-year, $36 million deal that is anxious to prove himself and just wanted to go someplace where he was the guy. Throw him into the line of fire, especially since you have a guy like Adrian Peterson, who's the best running back in football, since you have a stout defense, and since you're not requiring him to do but so much anyway, you could throw him in there right away. It's not like you're asking him to go in there and immediately start throwing 45 to 50 passes. He doesn't have that kind of obligation or onus on his shoulders. What he has the obligation to do is to go out there and to make sure you don't mess it up, because we have a stout running attack with a decent and improved offensive line with Boone added there, with a defense that can play lights out. We have all the ingredients here to win without a marquee quarterback. So we're not asking you to be marquee. We're asking you to be average. I think Sam Bradford could pull that off.
You know what's amazing about you?
A lot of things are, but which one do you want to talk about?
There are.
Which one do you want to talk about?
Your acting ability is brick on General Hospital, for example.
I'm going to say, I'm waiting for that call.
But the analysis, your analysis is spot on. And then you wind up in this crazy conclusion. The analysis is right. How do you conclude what you do based on what you just presented? Let's think about this.
You know why? Because I'm Stephen A.
Apparently.
Because I'm Stephen A.
That sounded like Stephen B. Smith. Where's Stephen A. Smith?
That's Caliendo.
Bring your A game.
That's my man Caliendo. That's Caliendo, not me.
All right. Now look. Yes, I don't care how predicated your offense is on Adrian Peterson and the run. You got to give a quarterback more than a week to learn the offense, to get on the same page with his center, with his receivers, with, to do basic things, to learn the playbook. I don't care how long he's been around. He needs more than a week, especially when, for all the reasons you gave, you have someone on your roster already who probably is more prepared to not mess it up than a guy who's coming in off the street and has really less than a week to prepare for the game. That's A. B. Let's look at Sam Bradford's injury history, shall we? Because when you're not on the same page with the other players on your offense, I would tend to think that the chances for injury go up, not down. He misses the entire college season, basically, with an injury to his shoulder.
How many years ago was that? Tell us the year.
2009.
Oh, okay,
right?
7 years.
Because it's like every year.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Right?
Go ahead.
So
I'm listening.
I'm just establishing
it's 7 years ago. Go ahead.
I'm just establishing here that he's injury prone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even in the background.
He's basically injury prone.
Right.
Shoulder surgery, misses a season. 2011, high ankle sprain, missed 5 games. 2013, tears his ACL in week 7 versus the Panthers. Put on IR, had to have reconstructive surgery. 2015.
I'm waiting.
Goes down, misses a season. 2014. 2015. Misses a couple games because of a concussion and a knee. I mean, it's not just like it's one recurring injury. Yeah. It's his head, it's his knee, it's his ankle, it's his shoulder. The guy is injury prone. Now, you just gave up a 1st round and a 4th round draft pick to get this guy in a move of desperation because you have a good team that most feel will get to the playoffs. And what you really need more than anything is a game manager. Not only would I argue that the guy you already have on your roster is more able to not mess it up than a guy you're bringing in with a week to go, but I would also argue that given what you just invested in your new quarterback, who's never even been NFL average for more than half a season in his NFL career, in spite of the fact that he was drafted number 1, you're bringing in an injury-prone guy and putting him in a position that increases his chances for injury after the investment in him. It doesn't make sense.
Well, let me say this. Your opinion is asinine, and here is why. Of a possible 80 games, Sam Bradford played 63. And what you're talking about is a guy that in his career, these are the years, when he played 16 games, his rookie year, he passed for 3,500 yards. When he played 16 games his 3rd year in the league, he passed for 3,700 yards. The 2 years that he got hurt, he played 10 games 1 year, passed for 2,164 yards. This year, he played only 7 games for the Eagles. He passed for 1,687 yards. Last year, he played 14 of the 16 games, passed for 3,700 yards again. So anytime he's available for a minimum of 14 games, he passes for a minimum of 35 yards.
Counting numbers.
Time out. You're succeeding Teddy Bridgewater, who was pedestrian to be kind. Now, what is your options? Sean Hill, I ask a question. You want to play my Jeopardy music for me?
For 1 week?
Let me ask you a question.
You can't live with Sean Hill for 1 week?
Let me ask you a question. Do you know who he is? Do you know what he can do? Do you have any kind of resume whatsoever on Sean Hill?
Can you just tell me about the defense? Can you just tell me it's the running game and the defense?
What I'm saying to you is
can't live with Sean Hill for 1 week?
Why? Why bother? Well, if I don't have to. He'll be there if something happens to Bradford, right? I'm not worried about anything happening
to
to
Bradford week 1. He doesn't know anything. Watch something happen.
Wait a minute. Why is something going to happen because he doesn't know anything? The fact of the matter is that he plays football. He'll have, again, I brought up Pat Shermer for a reason. If you've been under this man in 2 different destinations, this guy obviously had a lot to do with Minnesota being willing to bring Sam Bradford on board. So clearly, it's just incorporating stuff that Sam Bradford already knows. The dude is smart enough to pick something like this up. And I'm certainly not going to jeopardize when I'm playing in the NFC North and Jordy Nelson's about to come back to join Aaron Rodgers. Every single game counts. And I'm not jeopardizing 1 game or 2 games just for Sam Bradford to be comfortable. You wanted the starting job? I'm giving you the best running back in football. I'm giving you a good offensive line in front of him. I'm giving you a stout defense on the other side of the ball. Figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
Figure it out. But I'll give him an extra.
in the system.
Yeah, I'll give him an extra week to do it. And by the way, in terms of the passing yards and those kind of numbers, those are counting numbers. Why not go look at RBIs to figure out who the Major League Baseball, who the MVP is in the American League? Counting numbers are not what's so important.
We actually do look at those things when we're judging.
But that's a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
That's an antiquated way of looking at it.
It might be antiquated, but it ain't wrong.
It is
just
wrong.
because something is old don't make it wrong.
No, but in this case,
there's a lot of old things that are fine as wine. It's classic. It's absolutely right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, ain't nothing wrong with a little age. Bradford's
QBR has only been around average once in his career, and that was for half a season. That's it. You and I on the same page. You can throw the deep ball. That's about it in his career. I take no pleasure in saying that. I thought he was going to be good, but he has not been. That's the fact of the matter. He hasn't been any good.
All right.
You can say that. It's no good. He's still better than Teddy Bridgewater right now.
And Teddy Bridgewater is ascending.
Teddy
That was
Bridgewater is
so
what he is.
unfortunate in terms of the timing in his career. Vikings-Titans, that one Sunday at 1. Let's move on to another injury-plagued quarterback. Have we already seen the last of Tony Romo in a Cowboys uniform? Shocking. The guys at the desk disagree. We get into it with First Take Return.
I don't know this Max coming. I don't know you right now.
I get it. He's famous. Literally. What have you done with Stephen A. Smith?
Your boys can't come over your house.
I'd like to lick the tears off their faces like
gosh.
Scott Hennerman.
Damn.
People blowing me up on Twitter.
It's the truth. Period.
Me.
And last point is this.
That's a blunt.
Stay off the weed.
Don't have anybody valuable enough to take up that last spot to give us the opportunity to see how he does. There's just not enough value there, realistically, to bring someone else in. That's the deciding factor. You don't have to spend a lot of time, Mac, going over and getting kind of circumcising the mosquito. You don't have to do that over there on him, because you look back over on the other side that caused you to make the decision, and there's nobody good enough to take that spot to give you a chance for that if he can come back.
Did he say what I thought he said about a mosquito?
Yeah, the mosquito reference, classic Jerry. He was suggesting that the Cowboys will keep Tony Romo on the 53-man active list because they don't have anyone valuable enough to take the spot over Romo. Romo suffered a compression fracture in his back August 25th against the Seahawks. He's expected to need 6 to 10 weeks to recover. Jeff Saturday in the house. Good morning. How we doing?
Fantastic. Jerry made my day much better.
Right?
Already. Oh, Jerry.
You're gonna work that reference into the show at some point on NFL Live. Plain and simple. Is Romo done?
Absolutely not. He's not done. No, I mean, listen,
As a starter?
No, he's not done. Tony Romo, the injuries are mounting up. He's an aging quarterback. But let's talk about this football team and what he brings to it. He brings a level of stability in knowing what you're getting every week. Dak Prescott has played very well in preseason, and I'm hoping he plays well in the season. You're hoping he is. But what Tony Romo has given to this team with 30-plus touchdowns the 2 years before he was injured, obviously going down last year and now at the beginning of the season this year, that's difficult to take. But he's taken some crazy shots, right? I mean, this isn't normal type things. And you're talking about a defense that is not going to be the end-all, be-all. Your defense is having Ezekiel Elliott and a very good offensive line to take the pressure off those guys. So Prescott, Romo, they are going to manage the offense with a good run game. Don't take many chances. When it's there, feed Dez, Witten, move the ball, move the chains. But you'll have to understand how, and as the season progresses now, I mean, it's one thing at the beginning of the season, another thing mid-season. When the season starts to end and everything, all the playoffs, all the implications, defenses get tighter. Having a guy that's experienced like Romo coming back does add value. So I do not think is he completely finished. I love the drama. I love the drama of the question. I love that everybody looks at it that way. That is not the case. I mean, this guy took a freak shot on the back, getting draped over. But when he comes back at full strength and healthy, he adds value to the Dallas Cowboys. Doesn't matter how well Prescott plays, anybody, he will add value to this team because of the experience he has in running and managing the Cowboys and the playoff expectations.
Could he make a playoff run? Yep. Is he done on a game-to-game basis if he's healthy for the game? No. He can still be Tony Romo. But is he done as a guy who you can plan a season around? He's been done as that guy.
Right.
He has a degenerative back condition, essentially.
Right.
So you can, but what they can hope is if the defense can play just well enough past that tipping point to keep them in games because of how many resources they've invested in their offensive line in recent years, first round of the draft, and how well they've played together, he can hope that they can still be in it, and he gets healthy at the right time.
That's right.
And catches fire. There's a difference between being done the way Romo is. Look, he ain't going to play 16 games. Just got to hope he's healthy when the timing's right. And being done the way your boy Peyton Manning was, where it's like, this is no longer the same guy.
Right.
This is fundamentally a different guy now, the way Kobe Bryant was. He flashes, but at the end, he's not the same guy. On a game-for-game basis, when Romo's on the field, he's still Tony Romo, which means if he can get on the field and their record's just good enough,
that's right,
the Cowboys can make some noise.
And the division they're playing in, this is not, I mean, they have a shot. I mean, you think about the Giants are going to be better, Redskins are going to have but this team is in it. So, you like you said, hang on, man. I mean, just strap it, try to batten the hatches down, whatever you got to do to hold on, because peaking at the end of the season with a healthy Tony Romo makes it a viable situation where you can push for the playoffs.
And Dak gives you more hope than they had last year.
No doubt.
Based on what he did in the
I'm having deja
preseason.
vu. I don't know about you guys.
Are you finished?
For now, let's
Sure.
see what you guys say.
Finish?
I'm finished. I'm ready to hear it.
Tony Romo's done.
Oh.
Done. And let me tell you why I say he's done. Because when we talk about Tony Romo, that's who we're talking about. We're talking about the franchise quarterback. We're talking about the team that went 1-11, the guy that the team went 1-11 without. We ain't talking about some dude that you could just throw up in there. Oh, can we get a couple of games out of you? That's not the Tony Romo. You don't get to change the narrative about Tony Romo. This is Tony Romo. You understand what I'm saying? This ain't Sean Hill. This ain't some journeyman quarterback or somebody. We're talking about Tony Romo. I'm not talking about the name. I'm talking about Tony Romo. If you're talking to me about a quarterback that you could come back, let's hope he could give us 3 games, and his name happens to be Tony Romo, sure, he can play for you. But if you're talking about Tony Romo, the franchise quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, here's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a herniated disc in the back in 2013. I'm talking about the traverse process in the back in 2 places on a Monday Night Football game in Week 8 of the 2014 season. I'm talking about the broken collarbone in 2015. I'm talking about the fractured vertebrae that just took place. I'm saying I've got, in 2 years, I've got 3 back injuries. In 2 years, for the quarterback of your franchise, it's over. So when you look at it, and that's how I'm looking at it, because at 36 years of age, I'm not believing in a sport like football, as violent as it is, that you're coming back from that. Now think about this for a second here. He's got Ezekiel Elliott. He's got Alfred Morris. Hopefully Darren McFadden will come back from his elbow injury, okay? So you got a stout running game. You have unquestionably the best offensive line in football. Des Bryant is back. Jason Witten is back. Terrence Williams is back. And he still gets hurt.
Wait.
Those
guys, he's supposed to...
No, that's not what I'm... Listen to me. I'm not saying... I'm saying that one of the reasons we would speculate about the potential productivity of a Tony Romo is because we're looking at the parts around you and saying he's not going to be asked to do much. He'll be fine. And still something happens.
Yes, can I
because it's Tony Romo.
Can I show you what I'm dealing with?
That's what I'm saying.
Can I tell you Stephen C. Smith today? Let me tell you something.
Okay.
He just makes the case that Tony Romo is done, and to make that case, you actually say, look, they can't win without him. His value is demonstrated in his absence, and therefore he's done.
I'm saying to you that Tony Romo, because of what is required as a quarterback in the National Football League, for some reason, there are just guys. To work with me here, Jeff.
Listen, hold
there
on.
are just guys. There are just, hold on. There are just guys. Those certain guys where, I mean, you could pass them with bad breath and something happens. There's just those guys. He only missed 2 games over 4 seasons before last year, where he missed 12. I get that. But I'm saying over the last 2 years, it ain't the shoulder or the elbows. It's his back, man.
But before
his
last
back.
year, the 2 years before, he's got 30-plus TDs and 9 and 10.
I'm not questioning his ability. I have no question about his ability.
He can play through pain.
Really?
He can play through injury. Until last year in the collarbone, he played through the back stuff. He fought through and was productive.
What does that say to you, though, Jeff?
31 and 10 and 30 and 39. I'll take it. There are a lot of teams who would take
I'm not questioning the ability now. I know the brother can play. I'm saying
that's what I'm saying.
36 years of age with 3 back injuries in 2 years?
He's proven that he can fight through.
You're the same
guy.
The only thing he didn't play through is the collarbone, and he couldn't play through it. Right now, he's got a steel plate put in there.
You're the same guy who just said throw Bradford out, even with his injury history. The Vikings want to make throw him out week 1 before he knows what he's doing. But the same guy says Tony Romo's done.
I have a question for Jeff Saturday. Jeff, will he play a 16-game season again?
Ooh.
See?
But
It doesn't require.
Yes,
That doesn't matter.
It
No,
does matter.
It doesn't.
At some point
It does
that
not.
he can
Here's
still
what
play a
matters.
full
Here's
season.
what matters.
Did you see last year?
It does not matter,
mattered.
Molly.
Here's what matters.
It didn't matter last year.
15 games, 14 games, 16
Right.
games, whatever he can give you, productivity on the field, he can win games that matter.
Right.
That's what matters. You don't have, I mean, what we're talking about, he doesn't have to be a 16-game stud for this franchise to be successful. If when he comes back, he's at full strength and he is healthy, he will be a productive player.
Here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm at. Hold on. Here's where I'm at. I believe, to be clear, when I say Tony Romo's done, I'm saying I don't believe that man is at a point where he'll give you more than 8 games.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay.
I think I don't believe it. I think that back. I think that back, Jeff. I think that
Well,
back.
he hasn't done it. Didn't
I
do it
think
last
that
year,
back.
not doing it this year, probably.
I think that back.
Look,
I think that back at age 36. I know you're saying 2 seasons. I'm thinking 36
Look,
years of age.
Here's the difference. I
That's
think
what I'm
you and I are
thinking.
on the same
That's
page about this. And
expectation now, 8 games?
I'm not comparing Romo to Jeter or Peyton or Kobe as the level of play.
Right.
But those
No way.
guys at the end were done. It wasn't Derek Jeter. It wasn't
Right.
Peyton Manning. It wasn't Kobe Bryant anymore. There were the remains of those players
For sure.
still on the field. Romo is more like, I'll make a more obscure baseball reference, El Duque, the pitcher for the Yankees, won a lot of World Series. He might only give you half a season, but if he was healthy for the playoffs, you had an ace.
It matters.
It matters.
It matters.
He could still, Romo, when he's on the field, is still an excellent quarterback.
And that's how I look at it. When he's on the field, he will be a difference maker. And that's in the game of football, especially when the season's coming to a close, you have to have difference makers. And he is that guy.
I'm challenging you because you're too nice of a guy. You're a very nice man.
I am a nice guy.
Jeff Saturday is a very, very nice man. So I'm challenging you on this because here's my thing. It's the back, and then we have to remember who we're talking.
Played through the back.
Hold on, wait a minute. I understand that.
He's played through
when
it.
he was 32, 33, something like
even
that.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, all right, he played through that, but he's got 2 cents. And then I'm thinking about it like this. This is Tony Romo here. No matter how much protection he has, he's scrambling out of the pocket. He subjects himself to getting hits.
That's true.
And then even when he slid, he slid with his back, with his upper body, with his torso straight up. You don't slide like he's supposed to be in a slant. I mean, he slid with his back straight. He slid like he was sitting. I mean, that's how it came down.
I have a question.
These are the kind of things that he does.
But that's not because he's 36. That's because.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's
What
fair.
about this?
I'm
He had
just
an
saying.
ugly
I'm
slide.
just talking about you get to a point where you wake up and listen. Y'all know. Look.
I agree with that.
Hold on. I'm older than you. Am I not? I'm 48.
You
I'm older than you. I'm older than you. Listen to your elders. You wake up one
Here
day.
we go.
Listen. You'll wake
just
up.
don't work.
No. Here's what I mean. You'll wake up one day and it just hits you. You're not what you used to be. You're just not what you used to be. You don't. There's no preparation. There's nothing warning. You just wake up and like this. Damn, I just can't do this anymore.
And there's nothing.
I mean, that's what happens.
And you know what really points it out to you that you're not what you used to be when you're sitting across from a younger dude. That really.
I haven't.
That's when it's
You
glaring.
gotta play against. When you're playing against an old dude, you don't feel old.
I haven't discovered that yet. I haven't discovered that yet. But that's a good one. That's a good one. A good try.
New York Football Giants against the Dallas Cowboys in Arlington, 4:25 Eastern. Go Blue. Jeff, you're staying with us?
I'm staying with you.
Okay, good. Up next, we have a huge week of guests right here on First Take tomorrow. The one and only John Gruden here to break things down for us. Thursday, Fat Joe will stop by for a visit. But meanwhile, the Eagles, they put all their chips in to get Carson Wentz, and they're throwing their big investment right into the fire, folks. The team announcing that Carson will be their starting quarterback week 1, not veteran Chase Daniel, when the Eagles visit the Browns week 1. Wentz, he's ready to go.
It's actually funny. I was actually laying in the middle of a cornfield hunting when that happened. So I got the call, and I was obviously very surprised, but instantly I was just really excited. You know, I was a lot of excitement going on, and we quickly cleaned up and got out of there because there was just so many emotions going on, and I was with my family and stuff. So, you know, now it's just kind of down to the business, you know. And but I can tell you, I'm very confident, and I'm very excited to get this opportunity.
Wentz clearly fired up. He suffered a hairline rib fracture during the team's first preseason game August 11th and did not play the rest of the preseason. Jeff Saturday still here with us.
Yeah.
What does this mean for the Eagles that he's starting week 1?
It ain't good. not my opinion. I look at this thing. I understand they had to make the trade with Bradford. I think it was a good move for the Eagles from front office perspective of what they were looking at. You draft number 2 pick he's going to be your guy, right? So you'll get as much as you can. You get a first, fourth, possibly more for it. You kind of got to do what you got to do. I'm shocked that they paid Chase Daniel that much money. And when the opportunity presented itself with a guy who is coming from, I don't know, Division I something, or one double, whatever it is. I don't even know what it is.
1AA, North Dakota State.
1AA, whatever the level of competition is.
I call it Division II, but it's really not.
Okay, so you know what it is. And then you got 39 plays in preseason that he played. Most were in week 1. Injured ribs through preseason. Not really sure you've had a really, and you've played only second-string defenses, even in preseason games. This is a big swing. Like I was just shocked that you wouldn't go. And I know that Chase Daniel is a backup QB, and that was his intention there, and that's what they had the thought. But at least give him some time to kind of bring the kid along. I mean, I think you're going to walk in and this season. I mean, the defenses in the NFL can be overwhelming. I mean, even defenses that people think are poor can overwhelm you with scheme, where they place players, when they shift and they have late blitzes, all the things that come about. He just doesn't have that many reps at it. And I can't imagine with the rib that he took that many reps, even in practice, even being protected with your ribs being banged up. And so from that perspective, I was shocked that he was the guy that they named. And I'm hoping Carson Wentz has a fantastic career. Hear me in the right way. But week 1, after Bradford was definitely getting the lion's share of everything, and you come in and you just skip right over Chase and put him in, I think it's telling you that, hey, look, we're about the franchise long term. If you're Kelsey at center, if you're Jason Peters, Lane Johnson, I know he's got his own stuff going on. If you're these guys who are expecting, hey, we could make a push for a division that's there for the taking. Again, we talked about it last segment. This is not a division that you're scared of, whether it's Giants, Redskins, Cowboys. You're not really afraid of anybody. You have as good a shot as anybody to go start a rookie with that amount of experience, in my opinion, just says, hey, we're planning for the future. We're going to take our lumps early. It would sell me the wrong thing in my locker room. I would have a hard time as a player going, man, we got Chase Daniel who's proven he can at least do something in the league. Why don't we let him ride and then bring along Carson Wentz? And I'm sure, and here's the one thing I did think of, I'm sure there's a plan in place that if he doesn't play well, here comes Chase Daniel. He's not a fragile kid. This kid understands the game. He's going to be the future of the Eagles. So it's not one of those, if you pull him, he'll melt. It's not that kind of nonsense. I mean, they can do what they want to do, but I just feel like the Eagles have too much of a shot to win the division to go ahead and start a rookie.
I don't. I think this is a wide open division, but I think the Eagles look at their team and they go, no.
Can't do it.
No, we're not going to do it. And so normally I would agree, don't start the rookie. Especially behind a porous line. But I think what this actually indicates is the Eagles believe they fixed the offensive line, or at least it's much better enough with the guys they brought in to offset Jason Peters' decline and remain respectable. Because generally, look, this is not a situation. If you're going to sit Carson Wentz, like it's Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Brett Favre,
right?
Or even Eli sitting behind Kurt Warner, where they're not only going to learn a lot, but in the case of Eli and the Giants' offensive line, it's like, look, who knows what Kurt Warner has left? Let's use him as a tackling dummy.
Right.
While the offensive line gets it together and we protect Eli Manning. That's not this. I think they're looking at their line, thinking we can protect the kid well enough. We're not going to win the division likely anyway this season. Let's put him out there and start developing him long term, because they gave up a lot to get him. And, and with the Bradford trade, when you really look at what that did, it offset what they gave up to get Wentz.
Absolutely.
So in the end, it was Bradford plus a future second rounder, more or less, for the second overall pick in the draft. I think they're signaling to their fans the future will start now, whether or not means we're competitive right now.
But here's the problem. I hear what you're saying. When you start talking about the offensive line, their job is significantly harder now when you put the rookie back there, because he's not going to see it. He doesn't. I mean, he hasn't seen safety rotation and a guy be able to get to a spot with the speed that NFL defenses have to get down there and get home as quickly as he can, which means more pressure, more blitz until he can beat the blitz. That's dangerous for an offensive line trying to protect your franchise.
Go get him, Giants. Go get him.
No question about it. But I don't blame them for putting him in this position. Let's face reality. Chase Daniel is nepotism at best, because when you give him $7 million and you've got familiarity with him, I mean his relationship with Doug Peterson or whatever, of course you're gonna take care to do. Plus he knows the offense.
Yeah.
He's smart enough, for you to insert him. But is probably devoid of the kind of abilities that you want and need from your starting quarterback. Carson Wentz is 6'6", about 230. He's got a good arm. He's got good wheels. He's mobile. You think about that, and then you take into account the Ryan Matthews as your running back. Your decent offensive line that took some lumps last year. Lane Johnson being suspended for a few games really doesn't help them, but you still have a decent offensive line. You had Jordan Matthews there that Nelson Aguilar is developing. Then you have to take into account the schedule. Work with me. I'm speculating, but this is just how I'm looking at it.
Right.
You open the season against the Browns.
Yes.
Game number 2 is against Chicago. Even though John Fox and that defense is going to be much improved.
Bring in the house.
You're going to bring the house at the same time. On the offensive side of the ball, Alshon Jeffrey, we know he could play. Durability is a question. You got this kid that they drafted out of West Virginia, White. You want to see what he can do because this is really his rookie year.
Right.
He was hurt all last year. So you've got questions as to what Chicago's going to do offensively because, after all, Jay Cutler's their quarterback, and we can't guarantee anything with him but ineptitude. So the point that I'm trying to make to you is that when you look at it from that perspective, you got 2 weeks, and then, obviously, Pittsburgh. You don't want to throw this dude into that lion's den when you know you're going to want to get him in as soon as possible. Anyway, you want him to get his feet wet as much as he possibly can. Question marks in Chicago on offense. Question marks overall in Cleveland on both sides of the ball. Carson Wentz, yeah, he played 1 AA. Okay, and the bottom line is that you're wondering whether or not how's he going to do against elite talent, but you're all in. And the parts that you have around him are experienced enough to somewhat offset whatever deficiencies he might have. I don't like it, but I'm saying once you decide to trade Sam Bradford, I don't know if you throw Chase Daniels up in there just because you got him when you've got a guy like Carson Wentz that you believe in and the city of Philadelphia is clamoring to get in that lineup.
All right, so what do you do if you're the coach? What do you do? You're Peterson, and the Browns start off, and they are bringing the house, and there's no answer, and your QB is just taking thumps back there.
Running the football, play action, passing, that kind of thing. That's what you want to do.
Just dump them off.
You want to exactly. And then let's not forget Darren Sproles. Because that's where he comes in very,
two
very
good tight ends as well. I'm with you.
That's where he comes. And then you got Ertz. You got Ertz and Selleck.
By the way, Carson Wentz in college, when you look at the metrics on him under pressure, not very good. Goff really.
I agree with that. I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, going back to your point, between Sproles and those dual tight ends, as great as Tom Brady is, let's give Bill Belichick and Tom Brady himself credit where credit is due in terms of their ability to protect him.
Absolutely.
And you already had Gronk. That's not enough. They go out and get Martellus Bennett. Why? Because we're going to get the ball out of Tom Brady's hands as quick as we possibly can. And you also have to remember, and don't underestimate this point, you're succeeding Chip Kelly.
Right.
And what was the problem with Chip Kelly? He gave his defense no break, high-octane, high-powered offense. He wanted to do all of this stuff, and he went against conventionalism.
Yeah.
And because of that, it threw everything awry. So you're Peterson and those guys. Now you're getting back to ball control, moving the chains, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands, protecting your defense to some degree. All of these things align with Carson Wentz being
and you're hoping the West Coast will get the ball out of his hands. I will say the middle of the field is going to have to be his friend.
No question. No question.
Tough throws on the outside in the NFL. A lot of guys who can break on the ball.
Middle of the field and Sproles.
Dump it off. I agree with that. You got to make it. And I hope the kid does well. I mean, I hope he's successful.
Well, you're a nice guy. We know you're not rooting against him.
Not me. I'm a Giant.
We know you're not rooting against them.
No.
We know you're not you, Jeff Saturday. You never root against anybody. Never do that.
Definitely not the Eagles.
Jeff,
Pox on your
good
house,
to
Eagles.
see you. Thank you
Appreciate
for the perspective there. Unfortunately, you're going to miss this next conversation. A guy who had a short stint in Philly himself. After holding a baseball workout last week, Tim Tebow might have himself an offer from the Atlanta Braves.
Who the hell added that topic to the show?
Interest in baseball say about the Teebs. That's what's coming.
Who the hell wants to talk about Tim Tebow? Braves.
Tebow, guess what? He may be headed to the Diamond officially. The Atlanta Braves general manager confirmed interest in signing the former quarterback and had multiple conversations with Tebow's reps. This according to John, I hope I'm saying this right, Capolella, who told ESPN's Jerry Krasnick. The Braves GM called the potential addition of Tebow a low-risk investment and also making it clear that the team is interested in Tim because of his potential as a baseball player, not as a gate attraction. Did you hear me? Stephen A., what does this say about Tebow?
Well, first of all, I'm happy for him in terms of him getting the opportunity if it's something he truly dreams about. Because listen, as much as I go off about him, he's really a nice guy. I mean, I know I say he's my friend, blah, blah, blah. I'm joking around because I don't know him that well, but he's always incredibly nice to me. He really is a nice guy, and it's hard to root against him. Do I think that he deserved 28 teams to come see him play? No. I think that's a disservice and a level of disrespect to members of the baseball community who had to be on their grind and work their tails off to get that kind of recognition. But I think it's important to say something that I've said on occasion in the past that no one ever brings up about this. Tim Tebow belongs in football. And I think that Tim Tebow's absence from football is primarily due to his selfishness. That's right, I said it. Selfishness. And the fact that, you know, he has a bloated view of himself in this regard. Tim Tebow is no damn quarterback in the NFL. But Tim Tebow belongs on an NFL roster. This dude, I mean, he's built like a football player. He clearly has the athleticism to play football. He has accomplished a great deal in the sport of football, at least on the collegiate level. Max and everybody else is quick to bring up how he had one good season. I mean, a dead clock is right twice a day. He lucked up and went 7-4 with the playoff victory, even though he's got a couple of games where he only completed 2 passes.
Over who did he
Don't
beat?
go there, Max. Don't make me throw water on you like the wicked witch that you are. I'll throw water on you and make you shrink. Stop messing with me. I'm still hurt over that loss by the Steelers to Tebow. And I still haven't forgiven Ike Taylor for it. But it's all right. That's neither here nor there. My point is this. Tim Tebow is not in the NFL, which is where he belongs, because he wants to be a quarterback or nothing. I think that's incredibly selfish. I think that's incredibly weak. And I think that that is really ignoring the skill set that he brings to the table. Tim Tebow could do a lot of things for a football field, or for a football team. I think he could catch passes. I think he could be a tight end. I think he could play special teams. I think he's the kind of individual that can galvanize troops because you'll love being around him. He's clearly focused on winning as the top priority. I think he could do wonders for any locker room, and that is where he belongs. Every time I hear this story about baseball, I don't care what kind of potential he has. To be 29 years of age, laughing about how he hasn't played baseball since high school, and to have 28 teams send scouts or personnel to go and watch him play. First of all, he's got a beautiful agent. He's got the best agent in the business. All right, he's got the best agent in the business.
I think we can all agree on that.
I mean, because when your agent pulls that off and gets 28 teams to come and watch Tim Tebow swing a bat or catch baseballs, I mean, this dude's a miracle worker. So he deserves all the respect in the world. But the flip side to it is that he doesn't deserve that. He never deserved that. He deserves to be in an NFL uniform on an NFL team playing any position he wants other than quarterback.
You know, I brought this up a couple weeks ago when you made this same case. I noticed that you've been on General Hospital as a recurring character Brick. I also noticed you never had an acting lesson. And that's probably because someone saw you talking about General Hospital. You love it. You know, your sisters watched it, your older sisters.
No. Not just them. I've been watching it for 40 years.
Right. But they put you up on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they hogged all the TVs if I want to watch TV at 3 o'clock. It's the only thing I had to watch.
So you talk about it on TV, essentially leveraging your position as a broadcaster.
I disagree.
For the
Go ahead and act, Kellerman. Yeah, let him go.
For the opportunity.
Never that. I never did that.
If
never.
Those at General Hospital look and go, you know, that guy has broadcast star quality, which you obviously do. Even if it's not exactly an actor, we think that'll translate to our.
Oh, please. There's no baseball team that thought that about Tebow.
Not only that.
Stop it.
Even if he could do it well. Even if they didn't believe that, he's going to be good for our ratings. In other words, our bottom line.
Good for the ratings.
So of course, the Braves are lying when they say it's not just a stunt.
Well, we agree there.
Yeah, he's never. But if they feel he has athletic quality enough to take a look, and even though, of course, he's never going to make it to the major leagues, but they can bring him in and he's a gate attraction, as Stephen A. Smith is on General Hospital, why not? Now, you say he still belongs in the NFL, and you and I agree about that. But damn it, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And do you know who?
Now we're going to wear our red, white, and blue again. Now we back to our red, white, and blue. You left capitalism out, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you know in this country who defines your happiness? You do. And even though Tim Tebow has said, he said, look, the two things I loved the most in sports was I loved being a quarterback, not playing football, being a quarterback. By the way, in baseball, he didn't say he loved playing baseball. He loves hitting a baseball. And you may say that's selfish.
The man never mentioned it until he was 29. We never knew anything about that. Oh, so now you just come up with a dream that nobody heard about until you were 29. Oh, come on. Come on.
He said he agonized over giving up baseball to be a quarterback. Now, you could say it's selfish because he doesn't want to play football. He just wants to be a QB. He don't want to play baseball. He just wants to hit a baseball. That is for him to decide what makes him happy. And if he then leverages his status for opportunity, who among us wouldn't?
Don't you dare sit up here and get self-righteous with me. Of course that's his decision to make. We all know that. What you want to say, the sky
according
is
to
blue?
Stephen A. Smith.
No, I didn't say that. What you want to say, the sky is blue as next? Who the hell doesn't know that? Of course it's his right to do it. But we can sit up there and discuss whether or not we think it's right, and that's what I'm doing.
You said it was selfish.
I think it is selfish, and here's why. I think it's selfish because your gift is football, and all you want to do is play the quarterback position when you're not good at it. He was willing to use the same celebrity to manipulate himself into a position of being a quarterback in the National Football League. I think that's wrong.
Manipulate himself to be he went 7-4 on the playoff win.
Oh, please. Come on.
For a team that couldn't win.
You know he can't throw. Stop it. Stop it.
I don't know about throwing or quarterback for one season. Yes, for one season. He was gifted to be an NFL quarterback. That one season.
I don't know if he stole
that one season. Give him the season.
No, I'm not giving him the season.
No.
And did they win once he started?
Give him that, Stephen A.
He played him into the playoffs.
No, I am not giving it to him. He is not getting that. Tim Tebow was not a quarterback. He was a running back playing behind center in the National Football League.
You'd like to define what everyone is and then tell them what should make them happy and what they should pursue?
At times. And when it's necessary, I'll do it. I mean, I don't like to do it, but if I have to, I'm just looking out for the best interest. You understand what I'm saying? I'm calling it what it is. Tim Tebow is not a quarterback.
What other shows do you like? You're going to be popping up on those pretty soon, I'm sure.
Well, you know what? I would, like I'm a General Hospital fanatic. I am a Law and Order fanatic as well. Sam Waterston is the best.
Let me find you on Law and Order.
Sam Waterston is the man.
You're on Law and Order. Let me find out.
You know what? I would be an attorney. I'd want to be.
And they would just give it to you because of your acting chops, right?
No. I wouldn't
or would they give it to you because you're Stephen A. Smith?
But let me tell you this.
They better start filming in Bristol.
Well, before
Stephen A. Tebow.
Before it might have been for Stephen A. But then they saw I could do a little something, so that's why they would give it to me on that. Tim Tebow, they ain't giving him. Nobody's giving him anything as a quarterback.
We'll be your backup dancer
because that's not who he is or what he deserves, and you know it.
Just want a playoff game. Kyle Orton basically couldn't get away.
He's a great man of faith. Coming up next. Colin Kaepernick, he's become Mr. Popular over the last few weeks thanks to his political stance. What does this mean for the NFL, though? We will explain and react. On Monday, President Barack Obama said Colin Kaepernick was exercising his constitutional right not to stand for the national anthem. Meanwhile, Seahawks corner Jeremy Lane, who joined Kaepernick's protest, said he talked to Cap and Colin thanked him for standing behind him. Lane also said he plans to continue to sit for the national anthem. Meanwhile, Kaepernick has one of the top-selling jerseys in the NFL at the moment. So clearly the sales have gone up of late. Max, does the NFL have something to be concerned about now that people are galvanizing behind Cap?
They do. Because Kaepernick, the reason he's gaining the kind of support he did, first of all, the president comes out and he's admitted he hasn't followed the situation closely, but he says what's obviously true. He has the right to do this. And even by the NFL rules, where they say, you know, we encourage, but it's not compulsory. He has the right to do it even by NFL rules, Stephen A. So the president makes that comment. His jersey sales have spiked. They're the second hottest jersey in the NFL right now. There's other athletes are now taking a knee for the national anthem, and then the stated reason is in support of Colin Kaepernick. So he's not out there on an island. And I think the reason people are responding to him is because they see he's being genuine about this. And particularly when you contrast this with the NFL, they see on the one hand a genuine person with a concern, and on the other a corporate entity that appears soulless. Let's not forget that John McCain and Jeff Flake released a report in 2015, that's last year, talking about the paid patriotism of the NFL. That many of these military salutes the NFL was actually getting money from the military. They were receiving it. Any organization, this is a quote from the report, with a genuine interest in honoring service members and deriving public credit as a result should do so at its own expense. Americans deserve the ability to assume that tributes for our men and women in military uniform are genuine displays of national pride, which many are, rather than the taxpayer-funded DOD marketing gimmicks, paid patriotism. So you have, now the NFL was publicly humiliated into returning money, and they were commended for it. But not until it was brought to light. And then they claim, of course, well, they didn't even realize that. Kaepernick, on the other hand, at great personal risk to his reputation and professional career, took a stand, or rather a seat, and then a knee. And then as opposed to getting money for his stance, he's now pledged to spend $1 million to help communities affected by the issue that he is protesting. So the NFL here has been hoisted by their own petard. They make this big display of patriotism, which in the past, some of which was paid for, and now they're running up against a genuine person who objects to various components of it, and that authenticity of Kaepernick is catching on, and now the NFL has a problem indeed. I believe more players will take a knee.
But why is that a problem?
Well, because the NFL prides itself. It's a largely military sport, roots at West Point. Read Sal Palantonio's excellent book, How Football Explains America, which was a reaction to how soccer explains the world. It has military roots. It's essentially the famous George Carlin skit, a war game. They are very invested in the idea that football is patriotic. You talk about how it's American church on a Sunday. They have tried to own this issue, and now they have been shown by Colin Kaepernick to not be authentic to the extent that he is, that the protest is authentic.
Well, here's why I disagree with you, because I think that you're putting a level of onus and responsibility on the NFL that they don't have anything to do with. They're a product of it all. The National Football League, the shield that is the NFL, is an American sport. And under the guise of our nation, okay, under the purview of our nation, it's a product that appeals to the masses, and it's the #1 sport in the nation in this day and age. So what you were doing, meaning the National Football League, is essentially adapting to ingratiating yourself in a culture that was widely and universally accepted. And so because of that, you're not thinking that it's going to be a problem. And if it does become a problem, it's a problem for the nation to discuss, not for the National Football League. The National Football League will continue to make sure the national anthem is played before every game. As long as they don't react to it one way or another in terms of their taking sides, and they continue to log along with a level of consistency that they've always done, then I don't see a problem for the National Football League. If individuals kneel down or refuse to sing the national anthem or whatever the case may be, that's not a problem for the National Football League to embrace. Not to mention the fact, just like I used the argument on Mike and Mike, that it's a private industry, so they could ultimately decide to institute mandatory. No, I'm not saying they should, but I'm saying if they decided to do that, I can understand how it would be problematic. But if they didn't decide to do that, that's perfectly within their right as well, because it's a private industry. They can simply say we're going to encourage, but we're not going to enforce. My last point about President Obama saying what he had to say was this, and I'm going to get a little controversial here, but I don't care because it's just how I feel. I don't believe being in China is the place to address this issue. You know, human rights violation and beyond. America is still the greatest country in the world. This is our issue. I would have liked it had he been on American soil.
I know that. I disagree because he was asked directly, and he's pointing out that in a free and democratic society, we can do this. You can't do it over there.
I agree
he's
with
pointing it out.
I agree with it there, but we got business to handle with people that we owe more than $1 trillion to. I'm just sitting there saying that might not be the locale. That's all I'm saying. My preference is that he would have been on American soil. It's just my preference that he would have been on American soil to say what he said. But that's it.
All right, we'll leave it here. We'll continue this and more. There's much more to say about this.
Yes, on Bristol soil.
Another day.
Coming up next, did Tom Brady have another equipment debacle, gentlemen? We'll tell you the latest, and if it was a big deal or no big deal, that's next. I think it was a big deal.
First Take is brought to you by BMW. We only make one thing, the ultimate driving machine.
Tom Brady played 2 preseason games without the NFL decal on the back of his helmet, and according to Tom Curran of CSN New England, Brady would say that he wasn't aware that the sticker was missing. The NFL has a strict uniform policy, and Brady could be subject to a fine. Max Kellerman, is this a big deal?
It is a big deal, actually. And first of all, I love it. I love it for a couple reasons. One, because it's just so gangster of Tom Brady, and I can't help it. In this case, sticking it to the man overrides my hatred of the Patriots.
With the sticker.
That's right. But this is why it's actually a big deal. Think about what he's protesting, how he's thumbing his nose at the league. He's saying, I'm innocent, I didn't mess with the equipment or direct anyone to mess with the equipment. And his thumbing his nose at the league by messing with his equipment, it actually makes him look guilty. It is a big deal.
You love it. It's so gangster. He has a problem with the league. One that he's getting $29 million from. Because you got the signing bonus and then the little base salary. You know, the base salary that he avoided getting, took less of this year because he had taken it last year. The penalty would have been more punitive.
Gangster. You know what that's called? A gangster.
All I'm trying to say is this. You got a problem with the cats you collecting all of these millions from. You're the victim. He's innocent. Please. This is another protest on the part of the New England Patriots because they do things their way, and they're snubbing their nose at the NFL. Fine, good and dandy. You love it, I hate it. It's unnecessary, it's counterproductive, and more importantly, it keeps the eyes of the NFL right on you. It hasn't worked for you before, in case you haven't noticed, because week 1 starting this weekend, and Tom Brady's going to be home, okay? Can't even practice with the team. This is the kind of stuff that exacerbates situations.
The last laugh is on us, though. The last laugh is on us, though, because they're going to be no worse than 2-2 in the first 4 games, and then Brady's going to come back with a vengeance.
Well, he's going to come back. I believe that, but the bottom line is this. He's going to be watching football games from home just like the rest of us.
Yep.
And I'm sure that's not what he wished to do.
Not just like the rest of us in a mansion with a supermodel and the whole thing. Not exactly like the rest of us.
Well, you know.
Super Bowl ring.
Depends on who you're talking about.
His life's all right. He does have a moat.
Yeah.
Right?
Something like that.
You just stay quiet. Keep yourself out of trouble,
anytime you mention Tom Brady and the supermodel wife, I keep thinking about Giselle on that runway, runway walk for the Olympics.
She owned that.
It was spectacular.
She owned it.
It was
switch
special.
in her hips because he's watching.
It was special. I understood at that moment why he married.
Yeah, it all came together for you.
It all came together.
Full circle.
It all came together.
For Max, Stephen A, I'm Molly. See y'all tomorrow.